Well, we have Edie. Could you maybe just give us like a update on, what the town or the state, could do to help people with, who were impacted by flooding?
Good afternoon.
Hello, how are you?
And maybe what happened with Sandy a
I-
couple of
yeah.
years ago.
So I can't believe that Sandy was almost 7 years ago now, but what had happened was it was just catastrophic. And so the governor had passed, and the legislature had passed legislation to abate some of the property taxes for the damages. It was predominantly on Long Island for the most part. And you had to fill out an application. There was legislation. You had to fill out an application. You had to get approval from the building department. You had to get approval from the assessor's office. And then there was an exemption that was processed, a Sandy exemption, I guess, for lack of a better expression. And so that's how that went. And then the following year, after the renovations had been made, the assessments went back up. So one of the other things, I haven't heard, I know that, Paul, you've been around, and I'm sure you guys have heard a lot more than I, but in speaking with some of the villages, there really wasn't that much damage in the villages right on the water. So, but I understand here we have. The exemption.
There was a strange
It was a
damage in the
strange-
village of Ardsley where it wasn't from there, and it was just water rushing down the hills and people on a hill being flooded.
Yeah.
Which was so very strange.
So this would be, the exemption would strictly and only be applicable to property taxes, no personal property, and that's how Sandy was handled. The personal property went through FEMA, as it is here. I don't know how FEMA's handling their situations with those applicants, but this would be strictly just a local option to do
Do you know
this.
how much or what percent of the break it was?
It depended on the value. It depended on the value, it depended on the damage. And so if we're gonna do something like that here, then I think that we should emulate what happened with Sandy, if you wanna move forward with that. Again, strictly just property taxes. And
We would need permission from Albany, right?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
And would
We're-
that only be for town taxes? That we
Well,
would
we
have
would
that,
have
because
to-
the school district would have to do it too, no?
You would have to get the school and the county and the villages if they're so inclined. Paul had sent out an email to the villages, and I don't believe that they're that interested, but I'm not speaking for them. We'd have to, approach them as well officially to find out what happened, to find out if they're interested in moving forward. But again, this would be strictly, we just finished our assessment roll. We just closed it. We just sent up all our reports, that we would need permission to have to reopen them. And I believe Tim was going to check on it, or Tim and I are going to check on it to see. I thought that there was an extension to Sandy. So it wasn't necessarily an extension to Sandy. It was an extension because of the hurricane status. So we're looking into that now. We will look into that if we get direction from the town board.
Let me ask a question. Would you be able to draft a proposal? Because then we could reach, the Westchester Municipal Officials Association is meeting October 14th. And we could put this on, the agenda as well. If you have a proposal, I could reach out to some of the supervisors in other communities. Because again, this could be a big help to people who, are suffering. And this way, at least residents will see that, if we're waiving the building permit fees, if we're giving tax relief to people who are suffering, we're going above and beyond what we should do. We got the FEMA advance here. We're hiring a consultant to look at areas where we could come up with some solutions. So, I feel that if we do everything as a package, then, we're not just pointing fingers and saying, Washington, you're messing up, or Albany, you're messing up. We're saying we're all collectively taking some responsibility.
Well, the proposed item for the agenda for the Wamoa meeting would have to be presented next week at the executive committee meeting, as a proposed agenda item for the dinner.
Oh, you're talking about for the municipal officials?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
But maybe if you think you could have a general, even if we come up with a concept, it doesn't have to be totally, then we
If
could,
that's the direction of the town board, then.
Would that be
I will have
okay?
something by the deadline.
and then,
Right.
and then Judith, and maybe you could let me know, and you know what, Katie asked if I could
Sure.
speak at that meeting.
Can you let me know what the deadline is? So I
It's,
can make
it's,
sure
it's,
that-
yeah, it's,
Well, the executive committee meets every first Thursday, and that's when they discuss what's going to be on the agenda for the dinner meeting,
Okay,
which for some reason is going to be on the 14th. I don't know why.
okay.
Can I ask you a question though? Like, it seems to me, it's kind of subjective, but how do you value the damage as, you know, in comparison to the damage to the house? And how do you prove that damage? Because everybody would like to see their building permit fees waived. So it seems like there's a certain subjectivity there. And then, you know, who's responsible for ascertaining that? Who
well, the building
determines?
permit is separate, because I spoke to Mr. Dam, you know, yesterday, and basically, for the building permit, you know, they do an inspection before, and, you know, if somebody, basement was damaged, and now they want to put in a second bathroom and a second room, you know, they wouldn't get reimbursed. On the other hand, if they're just fixing the basement, or they're fixing, I mean, people on Babbitt Court or on Warren, they lost everything. So if they're getting a building permit just to restore the house to the way it was, then that would be waived.
Yeah, we should look at the prior legislation maybe and then model what we do based
Does it
on-
allow for
Next
drainage?
Thursday.
In other words, if you don't have it, if you put in drains, does it,
That's what I think needs to happen, and I think that we just need to emulate whatever, if we're gonna move forward on this, we need to emulate what happened with Sandy, because that
Okay.
legislation worked out well. And I know a couple of my colleagues out on Long Island are still dealing with that. So, but like I said, I feel like it may not be as complicated as it may be, only because I feel like somewhere in there, there's an extension to the hurricane exemption.
Mhm.
But as far as the building permit, waiving the building permit fees, I feel like at least 4 of the 6 villages have already had resolutions for that, and they're moving forward with it. So if we don't have anything, and that's something that you're interested in, no sense in reinventing the wheel.
And also, I think what's going to happen.
We
is
got a
once
great resolution already.
Oh, sorry.
Once we start pushing, then, you know, the legislature and the governor's office, you know, they'll do a lot of the fine tuning. So, you know, what we have to do is like a basic concept, and then, you know, I could start, this will divert my attention, so the board I won't be a pain in the neck on other things. So the thing is, this will, you know, I think this is something that really would be like,
We just have to be very careful because of all of our other residents who were not impacted. And if FEMA is subsidizing the
Well, that's
renovations or
right.
whatever, we don't want that to be duplicative.
right, if somebody gets $40,000, if they have $40,000 worth of damages, they get $40,000 worth of relief, then they shouldn't get a tax break.
So we'll work on that tomorrow.
Thank you, I really appreciate it.
All right,
Good.
thank you.